When G2 played against Top Esports, they went down 0-2 before eventually reverse sweeping them to claim victory and move on in the winner's bracket. And many people were really excited about that. The reverse sweep was really iconic as it was the 6th time in LOL Esports international competition history that that's ever been done. But I was skeptical, and I can prove it because on my channel, I made a video called, there's many AB titles, but I said one of them, G2 had 30 days to prepare and still looked awful. I got a lot of flack for that, but in my opinion, I thought that Top Esports was not a contender to actually win this tournament. Meanwhile, with G2 being runner-ups at first stand, they should theoretically also be contenders, meaning they should AB, right? They should be better than Top Esports undeniably, and yet they were so close to losing that series. Many people in the comments were saying, well, a reverse sweep isn't technically close to losing. I would say it is. It's really miraculous that a reverse sweep happened. If a team is down 30 points in basketball, it's alarming. It is great that they made a comeback, but it also could be evident of some weaknesses at some part of their game, right? Took a lot of flack for that. However, and I'm actually really proud of myself for that because also everybody was super hype on the G2 train and I was the only doubter and then everybody got mad at me. Also, by the way, super happy that that there are actually G2 fans because sometimes when I glaze G2, all the G2 haters come out. And then when I hate on G2, all the G2 hopium and glazers come out. I love you guys. You guys have a home here. So G2 Glazers, you got a home at Tough Leader Experiment. Anyway, G2 then goes up against HLE and gets 3-0'd. And not only do they get 3-0'd, but one of the biggest things that I advocate for on this channel is actually watching the games. Which ironically, not to get ahead of myself, I didn't actually watch this series. Not the HLE series, the series that happened today that we're going to talk about in 2 seconds. Okay, the HLE series, it was bad. Outside of game 1 being close and still looking rough, games 2 and 3 were absolute stomps on the side of HLE. G2 showed little to no resistance, did not look like an actual competitive team, and it was my opinion that they were not going to be able to beat T1, who I watched extensively during the play-ins, and I thought would be extremely dominant. They went to 5 games against BLG, which is literally the absolute favorites to win the tournament. I did not think that G2 would overcome them. And then they did. And a lot of people have been upset with me as I have been flip-flopping out all over the place. Well, we're low-key about to flop one more time because Jesus Christ, what the fuck happened? Okay. Once G2 beat T1, and they did so in pretty dominant fashion, winning 3-1. Game 3 was the only game that went to T1, and they got an Exodia draft of all of their most popular picks, what's his face? Owner on Lee Sin, Keria on Rakan, and I forget who else was in that draft, but I remember it just being the Exodia T1 comp. Yes, they win that game, but then game 4, legendary, G2 beats them, and in, I think game 1, both of them were 40-minute epics where G2 showed ice in their veins and extreme resilience and ability to show up and clutch out a victory, especially against such a legendary and plot armor team like T1. Okay, so that brings us to the idea that we were going to be playing against NA's Lyon, the #1 seed from the LCS, to place into top 3 and hopefully get a rematch against HLE. Now, I was very irresponsible on this day, the T1 G2 series, although I do not regret it. I stayed up all night because I'm in North America. I'm in, the East Coast, and I have to watch the games at I don't know, I forget when that series started, but it might have been at 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning. I stayed up all the way till 6 in the morning after game 4 and immediately made a video. Fucking badass. But for this series, because I had work today, I was like, all right, let me not stay up all night. I'm going to go to sleep because we're going to win 3-0. And it wasn't even just my opinion. I know I give him so much kudos, but shout out Psychopathic Poro one more time. Even leading up to this tournament, he did not have a lot of faith in Lyon because this tournament is notorious for how fast teams like to play with players like Kanavi and HLE. I don't know who on BLG is really making the game so fast, but obviously you have Keria on T1, and Lyon is infamous, notorious for playing extremely slow and patient with Inspired, not really skipping camps all that often, and waiting for the most ideal scenarios possible to go for team fights. And it just seemed well, that style sounds a lot like Gen G, which we saw at first stand G2 seemed the most comfortable playing against, and really the concern was going to be G2 facing into faster teams like, again, T1, HLE, and BLG. We all thought this was going to be a 3-0. And then, and again, like I said, to the point that I did not even think twice about staying up for this series. And I wish I did, because at the end of the day, I didn't watch it. Because I wake up this morning to this message on my Patreon. And I'm going to blur out all the other names just for privacy reasons, but this guy asked me to shout him out with his full legal name, so I think that's okay. This is Ivan, brand new sub to the Patreon. Shout out to Patreon. Please subscribe to, first of all, the channel, because it helps out. We're trying to go full time. And if you do have the ability to, I would definitely appreciate $5 a month to subscribe to the Patreon, because once we go full time, I will be adding shorts to the channel, so we get even more every single daily coverage. And I have a main channel that I really recommend anybody check out if they haven't already, even though I promote the absolute shit out of this. A main channel where I do green screen background videos,
seems Oscar Rinnan had
video essays like this, covering really in-depth topics, and I actually have 2 ones in production right now that if I'm able to go full-time, I can really be aggressive about finishing. So yeah, highly recommend checking out the Patreon. It would super duper help out. Long story short, I'm gonna move my camera for like the first time ever. So Ivan hit me up just asking me about this initial message part, and then he wrote, "This shit is straight up sad." I remember being like, oh shit. At first, actually, you know what I really thought it was at first? I was like, did I do something wrong? Like, did I say something bad on my channel? Did I dox somebody? What the hell could I have possibly done? And then I was like, oh my God, it's the G2 series. I fly over to YouTube and it's a 3-0 from Lyon. This is disgusting. And just for context, I know you guys probably all know this. Oh, actually, my camera on the top right is way better so you guys can see this. First and foremost, everybody thought KC was going to be stronger than Team Liquid. We always think that EU is better than NA. And then KC gets 3-0'd by T1, and I said it. I'm pretty sure if you go back to this video, the KC MSI drama explained, I said that KC looked worse into T1 than TL did, because I watched this initial series. I actually watched this one and not this one or this one. TL, well, actually, I watched a bit of this one. TL looked really good into T1. T1 was very fast, of course, but I thought T1 is going to likely ramp up like they always do. I actually said it, because I said at Worlds 2025, T1 looked kind of rough into MKOI, surprisingly enough, but obviously they won that, and then they go on to win Worlds Finals. They ramp up, and they play to the level of the part of the tournament. So in the play-ins, they look like a play-in team, and then in the finals, they look like, obviously, world champions. TL looked better than KC, and everybody was like, well, everybody ignored it. Probably people that don't actually watch the whole series. Then we get to KC versus TL, and oh my God, the embarrassment. TL 3-0s KC. Now, the copium was this. Well, KC is technically a younger team, right? We have Kalist only at his second international, Yehu at his first, and at the end of the day, G2 is the real strength of EU. We're a one-team region. They're the team that's going to go far in this tournament, okay? The other narrative was that Lyon had a much easier bracket. Round 1, everyone was pissed off. Why does Lyon get Furia as their first round bye? Meanwhile, G2 has to go up against an LPL team. They do beat them. They beat the LPL team. Then they go up against HLE and they get 3-0'd. Lyon beats Furia 3-0, duh. And then they get 3-0'd by BLG. Everything makes sense. I will say, I watched a bit of this series and I remember thinking, holy shit, Lyon's kind of doing decent into BLG. Decent. Obviously, like, outright, I don't know if they were actually capable of winning any of those games, but they were not completely blown out of the water in that one. Kind of similar to this series over here. Okay, but then we get into the losers bracket, and Team Secret Whales, who HLE beats Top Esports. I said that reflected poorly on G2, which it does, because Team Secret Whales, yes, is a strong team, and I did read some of the comments explaining that the LCP does have more to offer. It's not just about CFO, which is now discontinued or whatnot, but still, I don't think, it's one thing for the LCP to beat, EU or whatever at an international, but for them to beat Top Esports, that's a different story. And they did it technically in a more dominant fashion than G2 did. Lyon 3-0s them. Now, you could argue, well, they had to beat Brazil and they had to beat LCP. So they got a free kind of run into this matchup, whereas G2 just had to beat T1. Added context, and I don't want to pull this up right this second, but I highly recommend go on to Sheep Esports, read the article of Faker. I'm actually gonna pull it up because I'm that guy. Faker after oh my god, I don't want to read the article. That literally I open up Sheep Esports and this is the freaking article at the top. If you look at Faker's interview from after the loss, rather than feeling like we lost because the opponent was that strong, I think we simply didn't play up to the level we expected. Now, at first, this was a very rare instance of Faker kind of being bitter, not owning the loss, right? Like really not respecting his opponent, which is shocking. And it's also not like G2 is like a fraudulent opponent. G2 is a team with high expectations, to the point that Perks, after the HLE series, said that one of his recommendations as a coach behind the scenes was to tell the boys, stop putting the expectations on yourselves. Clearly they were getting nervous, right? And they needed to be playing comfortable to beat these guys, right? I think what I'm trying to get at is that, well, actually, what is the point of me bringing that up? I think what I'm trying to say is that Faker, I think, was not that impressed with G2 going into this series, and maybe he underestimated them. I'm not sure. I do think G2 played great, but I do think Doran completely got outclassed by BB, and I just think, yes, shout out to BB, and I'm not trying to backtrack on what I said about BB. BB played phenomenal in that series, but I do also think Doran fucking shit the bed. Owner, I swear to God, felt pretty invisible, and Keria was uncharacteristically playing very slow. I'm telling you, go back and watch his series against TL and KC. Keria was running the map and was literally making play after play after play rapidly. He was literally playing like Kanavi was versus G2, just making play. And I mentioned that in this video, in the latest one, right? Now, what I will say is, in that very same video, I had said, well, perhaps it's because G2 is a stronger opponent than the other ones that T1 had to face. So maybe, maybe it's not that T1 was playing poorly. Maybe it's that G2 was playing so well that they could absorb the pressure and Keria wasn't able to make those plays like he would against lesser teams, right? It seems like that might not be the case. Now, again, I know I'm low-key flip-flopping, but I'm really not, guys. I'm telling you, I don't know what to say. Obviously, I think this goes for all sports. There's so much recency bias, right? I try to give as much context, which is why I've pulled up the results from other internationals to really contextualize this win. Jesus Christ. Okay. MSI Worlds 2023. Now I have defended G2 like to the max on my main channel as well. There's a video that I did. I was I am a huge fan of freaking G2 2024. And in this video, how Riot robbed the world of the greatest finals of all time, I was furious that at Worlds 2024, because of the Swiss stage, which kind of makes the number one seed power from all of the four major regions a lot less meaningful, because you could go up against other first seeds and second seeds from the East and stuff. It was introducing a lot more randomness and luck to the Swiss stage, which obviously is the determining factor as to who goes to the knockouts. And I felt like G2 was really strong in Worlds 2023 and 2024, and yet they were unsuccessful in making it to the knockout stage. And something that I've said many times is that they were the only team in the West, both EU and NA included, that actually beat an Eastern team. So, for example, in 2023, they beat Damwon, Kia, and Weibo, which, to be fair, yeah, look at that. Weibo plays against NRG, beats them, and then they lose to G2. Now, I guess you could say, yes, freaking, MMA math, right? That whole, like, A beats A beats B beats C, thus A beats C doesn't always equate, right? Like, obviously there's stylistic, more rock, paper, scissors dynamics, but I think it's fair to say, first of all, NRG was not expected to win LCS finals. Funny enough, I met my good friend Lettuce Plate, shout out to Lettuce Plate on Twitch and YouTube, at the LCS finals that NRG actually won, because it was in the Prudential Center in New Jersey. So me and my boys went, and then I met Trent, that's his name, Lettuce Plate, on the train, and we became really best buds. So anyway, NRG won that finals unexpectedly. That's where Big Dokes got his first LCS championship, if I'm not mistaken. It was like Dokes, Contracts, Palafox, I think it was FBI, and I forget who their support was. Not important. So anyway, the number 1 seed loses to Weibo, which is the 4th seed from the LPL. G2 is able to topple them. Then they have to go up against Gen G, which I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure, especially at this time, they were the number 1 seed. Yeah, literally, they have to play the number 1 seed in Korea to qualify. This has never happened in the history of Worlds before, because it would have been the group stage, meaning Gen G and G2 and NRG would have been completely isolated. After they lose to Gen G in a best of 3, they have to play against NRG. Now, to be fair, NRG should have been a free win, right? Everybody would have expected that G2 should beat NRG. And by the way, to give extra context, G2 underperformed at MSI 2023. So perhaps there was a little bit of fraudulence to this G2 2023 iteration, which was the same iteration as 2024. But as Mickey said, funny enough, when after they brought Duffman into the org at the end of this year, they didn't realize how bad they were, especially on the macro side of things. They were just trying to snowball through their micro and skill expression and mechanics. Anyway, they lose this series. Also, if you watch the behind the scenes of the MSI, the Worlds 2023 documentary, G2 also referenced that they were under the weather, they were sick, and I think it's really understated how kind of like illnesses and being sick really affects player performance, which is super unfortunate. So long story short, they lose this match, which sucks, and then they play against BLG, the number 2 from the LPL. If you look at this, again, I'm really over defending the group stage from Worlds of the past, but literally, this kind of run would have never happened, right? It would have been like, why are they playing the 2nd and 4th teams from the LPL? Meanwhile, look at NRG's run. They have to beat Team Liquid, a team from their region who was the 3rd seed from NA, because Cloud9 was the 2nd seed. Ridiculous, right? Then they play Mad Lions. Okay, fine, whatever. And then they play G2. So they didn't have to play a single team from the East in order to qualify. And then they do qualify, they get 3-0'd by Weibo, who they played and G2 beat, right? I think if G2 got this, they would have at least made semis, and the world looks very different in that timeline, okay? Ridiculous. Anyway, still important to mention that they lost to NA here. Worlds 2024. So MSI 2024, G2 stomps. I think they get like a 4th place finish. They 3-0 Top Esports in the losers bracket. They took T1 to 5 games in the winners bracket. And then yes, they get 3-0'd by T1 in losers. But I freaking love that team, and so whatever. Anyway, we go to Worlds 2024. G2 plays against Pain Gaming, PNG. They win. They go up against HLE. I'm pretty sure at this tournament, the number 1 from LCK, which would have never happened in any other freaking world championship other than 2023, obviously, because this is a Swiss stage. They then have to play against Weibo, beat them again, and Weibo were they any higher this year? No, they were still the 4th seed or whatever. Then they play against T1. To be totally fair, T1 was the 4th seed from the LCK, but they also were the eventual world champions. Whatever. Who else had to? Did any other freaking teams have to play T1? Whatever. Like I'm saying, like did freaking FlyQuest have to play T1? I'm sure they would have got shit on by T1 if T1 had to make it out of the freaking Swiss stage at that point. And then they go up against BLG, the number 1 seed. So, like, it's ridiculous. Like, how unfair is this? Having to play against so many number 1 seeds. They're a number 1 seed. Do you guys understand how brackets work? Like, it's supposed to be that the number 1 seed has an easy bye. Like, that's like if after this, right? Because Swiss stage is technically seeded. If we put, like, BLG and T1 in the same round 1 matchup. Like, there's a reason. Whatever. Anyway, I'm really so tilted. So anyway, I will say though, FlyQuest does get out, again, without having to beat an Eastern team because they lose to the only Eastern team that they go up against, which is HLE. They get to play TL to get out of freaking Swiss stage. Meanwhile, they could have went up against G2, and I think G2 would have won that year, especially because FlyQuest 2025 was something, but 2024, they weren't there yet. They go to 5 games against Gen G, but I will advocate for this a shit ton. Gen G does not do good at Worlds, and they still manage to clutch it out. FlyQuest, you know, whatever, okay? Okay, MSI 2025. G2 has the Skumon Lebrov roster. It's risky. They come in as the 2nd seed. They get 3-0'd by BLG, but then they beat GAM in a 5-game series, which is way too close for comfort. They get 3-1'd by Gen G. They're in the losers bracket against FlyQuest. They get 3-0'd. At this point, I think I was coping super hard, but at this point, FlyQuest was a good team. Actually, I should pull up Worlds 2025 here. They get 3-0'd by FlyQuest, and this goes into the last kind of topic of conversation in a second, which is really the who is making these NA rosters so good, although that's not really true, because who's making TL good? It's not Inspired. G2 gets a pretty free, actually it's not that free, they had to freaking go against BLG, even though BLG had a horrible Worlds, but G2 plays against Top Esports. They lost against Top Esports in round 1. That's horrible, bro. That's horrible. I forgot about that. They have to play MKOI. Good. They finally got some luck. They beat BLG. They beat FlyQuest. G2 makes it out. FlyQuest has to play T1. Gets beat. VKS and Team Secret Wales then lose to G2 and CFO. And FlyQuest doesn't make it, right? So they don't make it to Worlds. Knockout stage. Okay. So, what is really the point of going over all of this? I guess my point is to say that NA has actually contended with G2 over the last few years, and actually has contended with, actually as a comparison, I could also go back to Worlds 2023 for a second. They have like, EU is supposed to be the superior region. That is why Jojo Pune and Busio, 2 of the most notable native NA talents, right? I believe Jojo's from Canada. He is from Canada. Busio from America. Both of those players are supposed to be like the best native talent. And technically, if you have good branding, you could build the LCS around them. And yet, they came to EU because they recognized that EU was the better region, was more competitive, more dedicated, and has a better chance at internationals, had more talent both natively and even without imports or whatever. You can say the imports are better, but they are more successful internationally, etc., etc., etc. And now Lyon just 3-0'd us. Frickin', I'm sure you guys have seen the clip. Frickin' Inspired waved us off, which is also what he did, which is so irritating. Inspired waves to Mad Lions. When Evil Geniuses, yeah, look at this. When Evil Geniuses beat Mad Lions in the play-in stage of Worlds 2022, Inspired waves at them, want to knock this mofo out, and now Inspired waves to G2. This clip is blowing up right now. Is this game 3? Look at Inspired in a second. Waving over here. It's on Twitter. I'm not going to pull up Twitter right now, but he literally talks shit as he's doing it. I'm so sorry to say this at the end of the video, but or near the end or later into the video, I literally, coming into this tournament, I write down so many ideas for topics, titles and thumbnails, etc. And I was going to say that Inspired is not a serious player because he insists on staying in North America, seemingly more so for the lifestyle than for genuine competitive integrity and a desire to actually perform internationally. That was my opinion, right? FlyQuest obviously disproves that to an extent because at least in 2025, they outperformed EU for the most part besides Worlds, which at the end of the day, Worlds 2025, G2, yes, makes it out into the knockout stage, but underperforms against TES anyway, which is pathetic. And now, what can you really say? Like, yes, people like Kadra was saying, which I was shocked that Kadra was saying this because like he was like, oh, like they had to beat LCP to get there, but LCP outperformed Top Esports. Like, to me, I think this is a legitimate victory. That's why I didn't comment on this. I don't think that Lyon getting here is fraudulent. You know what I mean? If they had to, like, the Furia win, yes, fraudulent. But this one is not. The fact that Team Secret Whales 3-1 top esports, and you could say they were choking or whatever, but I don't know. I don't see it that clearly. Like we've had teams go into the losers bracket. Look at T1 again in Worlds MSI 2024. They go into the losers bracket. They 3-0 G2. Like, and G2 had momentum and arguably T1 didn't. But teams, there are these Eastern teams especially are able to show up, especially against competition that they're expected to beat. So Team Secret Whales winning this is legitimate and showed their strength, and Lyon 3-0'd them. Now, like, it's so funny how a new series like this recontextualizes it. This is a massive win, and now this one is a massive win as well. Now, from what I understand, again, I wasn't able to watch the series. G2 apparently underperformed. Jesus Christ, I saw a tweet from LS, which is insane, saying that, Inspired is typically known for, like, not skipping camps and just full clearing and stuff, but now he has added, like, skipping camps or doing a 2-camp, 3-camp into gank, which really just caught G2 off guard. In a video that I never released, but I made at the end of last year with an editor, but I just wasn't happy. No disrespect to fucking Mauricio, my boy, but I'm just very particular with those main channel projects, so I never ended up releasing it, but it was about my prediction that G2 should have picked up Inspired, and that would be very flip-floppy of me to say, because Skewmon is excellent. I literally made a video saying that in freaking, where is it? Skewmon is the best jungler in the world. Like, I can't be that flip-floppy, but I will say I'm being totally transparent here. Like, I don't mind being wrong. I literally, said at the end of last year, I think Inspired should have joined G2. After their performance at First Stand, I was like, no, Skewmon's the guy. Fuck Inspired. Now, I don't know what to feel. What the hell was I gonna say? I don't know how to feel. And now I was gonna say that, I don't know. I'm really, this was devastating. Now, I am, okay, the last thing I'm gonna say is that G2's performance against T1 was excellent. I don't think it's fair to take away the whole accomplishment. I think at the end of the day, what I'm really trying to say here, I am extremely disappointed in G2. They clearly did underperform today, I would say, but I don't think, I don't want to highlight that the same way that, okay, T1 underperformed against G2, fine, but that should not take away from the fact that G2 played excellent, is the same kind of, whether you want to call that like contrarian or hypocritical or whatever you want to say. I think it's the same dynamic here. Sure, G2 underperformed, but that should not take away from the fact that this is legit. This is a legit win from Lyon. I don't know if they can take down HLE. That's going to be a very interesting series. And I'm going to watch it. I'm very interested to see what's going to happen. But I don't want people taking away this win. I think this is huge for North America. I can't believe it. I can't wrap my head around it. I thought NA was supposed to be bad. They beat their second seed, beat our second seed. We were trying to cope and say, no, G2 is going to beat Lyon. And then they lost, and they lost in dramatic fashion. What can we say? The only other thing, and again, this is coming from someone who did not, unfortunately, watch the series, but I saw the freaking draft of Game 3, and it looked kind of odd to me. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. Get out of here. The only other thing I could say is, was G2, like, I suspected, if you look at the drafts against HLE, they were very normie from G2, and they just kind of got outclassed. And then against T1, it feels like they really pulled out all the stops, had really good, like, prep. Right? I think that the reason that they gave Broken Blade his counter picks and everything, I think they smelled the weakness in the top side, and they recognized that trying to go bot for bot against T1 was not going to be successful. They probably took a page out of BLG and HLE's book and said that the top side was the weakness of T1, and so they could expose it, and that's what G2 did. I think the last, it's not cope, it's like my read on the situation would be that G2 perhaps thought that Lyon was going to play a more methodical style, and Inspired said it in interviews, Lyon outread G2. G2 probably came into this series expecting Lyon to play slow. That Lyon played fast instead, and it completely caught G2 off guard, and they didn't have the prep for it. I don't know. Again, I didn't see the drafts. I should go back and watch these games. That's unfortunate. But yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know if there's anything to say. I mean, I've talked for 30 minutes. Obviously, there's a lot to say. This is a tough one, man. And it sucks. This is like when freaking MCoy lost in spring. I was so devastated because it just feels like such a long time until the next opportunity like this. And MSI is huge. And this was such a fun tournament, especially like it's been so fun no matter what. And with G2 heating up, I was so excited. If they got to this point in the tournament, I would have been like super excited. Even if we did get 3-0'd, I just would have been proud of them no matter what for this T1 win. As crazy as that sounds. I think T1 does need to change, man. Doran is so fraudulent, and they keep trying to like make me buy into him. No, bro, he's so bad. No disrespect. I don't know, whatever. I swear to God, they should get a rookie at this point because Doran is bad, dude. Liability. And literally so fraudulent that he has a world title, bro. I swear to God. It's literally like old SKT at that point because old SKT, like, it used to be that the surrounding players around Faker, like, really aren't that good and it's really just Faker 1v9ing. And it's not Faker 1v9ing necessarily. Definitely not Faker because Faker's not in peak form. But, yeah, that last Worlds was not because of Doran, bro. He got carried. Anyway, what am I even talking about? Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel because it really helps out. We're trying to go full time. And subscribe to the Patreon. We got a few new patrons and I really appreciate it. And I'll send you guys a personal message. And what I've promised so far is that I'm going to do shout outs at the end of the main channel videos, which is absolutely true. I don't know what I want to do just yet with shout outs at the end of these videos. Maybe I'll do them. I just have to prepare for them. So I do apologize that I'm not prepared right now for that. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Really interesting. It fucking sucks. Actually, so sorry. I mean, fuck it. You guys are here. If you guys actually make it to the end of these videos, EWC 2026. The last thing here is EWC's coming up, and I'm already like I'm so disinterested because I already know like freaking what's it called? Like I feel like G2 is gonna try and show up here, similar to how like bro at EWC 2025. What's it called? G2 beat FlyQuest in a best of one and they were hyping it up and I'm like, bro, this tournament doesn't fucking matter. They also, didn't they? Oh yeah, they beat BLG. That was like cool, but they lost to Gen G and overall, like, who cares? Like this, I literally think like, if a team doesn't win EWC, like I don't think this should be a part of like the Golden Road. I don't know if other people consider it that way, but I'm just not super hype about it. I'm planning to do a breakdown probably like the day before EWC because I think it is definitely a fun tournament and it's fast. It'll be interesting to see MCoy back playing again. But anyway, yeah, man, I don't know. It's a rough one. It's a heartbreaker. I hope G2 comes back stronger and better. LeBron James, literally the GOAT, literally like the carrier of fucking EU right now, like the carrier of this team. Like he is just going crazy. I'd have to watch the series, but according to the comments, it doesn't seem like anybody was negatively saying anything about LeBron. Low key. So, oh my God. I don't mean to be such a hater. The last thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to say this right now. So it's like a preview for a future video potentially. So according to some research that I did, G2, when they got Skumon, they wanted Skumon and Paris. And actually, supposedly, Paris was actually the key to that deal. Like, they were more interested in Paris than they were Skumon. And that's why they got rid of Yike and Mickey, right? Obviously, that's a more in-depth thing. I'm going to talk about it some other time. But in 2025, Lebrov struggled. And thus, Skumon looked absent at his worst, right? And they failed to win 2 finals back-to-back in LEC Winter 2025 and LEC Spring. And then in summer, when Lebrov stepped the fuck up, G2 looked like a super competitive team, right? Now, here again, what's it called? Lebrov is playing out of his mind in every single series, and it's Skumon that isn't playing super sharp. And it's kind of making me... I think Skumon's amazing. I really do. Like, I'm not going to say, like, oh, Skumon sucks, right? But I just think, I don't know, man. It would have been interesting to see G2 with honestly inspired with Lebrov, but I mean, he wants to play a different style. You see, now I'm getting too crazy. I literally am. I'm calling myself out. I'm getting too crazy. It's just a lot of interesting theory crafting and stuff. It sucks. I love the boys, and I know you guys told me like either just cope or not. So I'm not giving up on G2, but I am. This was a hard one. This sucks, but I still love them. So no disrespect to them. Anyway, boys, thank you guys so much for watching. This was just thank you for letting me share my thoughts. And I'm out of here. Peace out. Thank you for watching. Peace out.